Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I am here today to get you started on Unit 3, Short E and Short I. Please take a second and make sure you have all your materials. You should have this purple book open to page 23. You will also need some colorful writing utensils, whatever you can find. Keep in mind that whatever I do on the board, you should be doing on your page. Find a space for your key. If you can't fit your key on here, feel free to write it on a sticky note or a separate sheet of paper. Remember that if at any point I'm moving too fast, you should pause the video and then catch up. All right, so let's get started. Last week we started our study of short vowels and we had a whole list of short A words. Somewhere in each of those words you heard the A sound. This week we are moving on to short E and short I. So as I read the list of words to you, I want you to find the spot in each word where you either hear the E sound or the I sound. They will always be in the stressed syllables. All right, so please repeat after me. Benefit, business, continue, decimal, decorate, deliver, develop, different, difficult, educate, emptiness, envelope, episode, every, exercise, interest, minimum, prohibit, remember, together. All right, hopefully you heard that or I, short E or short I in each word. So just like last week, we're gonna take these big words and make them more manageable by breaking them into chunks known as syllables. So please choose a color, and we're gonna take that first word, benefit, and we're gonna slice it into 3 syllables. So after the N and after the E, benefit. Same thing with business, but I want you to notice something. It's actually business. There's an I in there that gets swallowed up. We say business, but it's really busyness. So I want you to notice that I and make sure you include it in your spelling. Continue, continue. Decimal. Again, look at that I. It gets swallowed up in our daily speech. We say decimal, it's really decimal. Decorate, deliver, develop, different, actually, might be after the C. Educate, educate, emptiness, emptiness, envelope, episode, every. There's another case. We think it's every, but it's really every. It's probably one of the most commonly misspelled words by adults too. Exercise, slice it after the X and after the R, exercise. Interest, minimum, prohibit, remember, together. Okay? In your key, red vertical line equals syllable break. All right. Remember last week we talked about stressed and unstressed syllables? Each of these words has one syllable that you're going to say a little bit louder and a little bit stronger. That is the stressed syllable. I want you to check them off. Benefit. Business. Check off that first syllable. Continue. This time it's the second syllable. Decimal. Decorate. Deliver. Second syllable. Develop. Different. Difficult. Educate. Emptiness. Envelope. Episode. Every. Exercise. Again, it's usually that first syllable. Interest. Minimum. Prohibit. This time it's the second syllable. Remember. Together. All right, in our key, blue check equals stressed syllable. That's the syllable we say a little louder with a little more power. It's also the syllable that is easiest to spell because everything makes sense. Look at the ben, B-E-N. This one's tricky, business, because that U is stealing the I sound. But most of the time, continue, T-I-N. Decimal, D-E-C. You're going to hear all of the letter sounds. Okay, so if that's the easy part, that means there has to be a tricky part. And the tricky part is the unstressed syllable. That's the syllable where our tongue gets a little bit lazy, and instead of clearly pronouncing our vowels, everything morphs into an sound. We call that the schwa. Okay, that schwa is the sound. So let's go through our words and see if we can find some of those sounds, the schwa. And remember, what makes it tricky is the schwa can be represented by an A, an E, an I, an O, a U, or even a vowel team like O-U or A-I. So we have the in benefit, the I'm not even sure that counts as a schwa. You can't even hear that. Business. Continue. There's a schwa in the O. Decimal. I'm going to circle this, but again, we don't really hear it. And the A. Decimal. That makes a schwa sound. Decorate. Maybe the O here. Deliver. Develop. Different. Difficult. And the U there. Educate. Emptiness. Envelope. Episode. Every. Exercise. Interest. Maybe. Minimum. Prohibit. Remember. Together. Okay. Those letters I circled in green, those are the tricky letters. Those are the ones you're really going to have to focus your attention on this week, because either you can't hear them in words like business and what was the other one? I don't know. Either you can't hear them or they just don't sound the way they're spelled. So when you are spelling them in your head, you really have to stretch them out. Benefit. Continue. Envelope. I know it sounds weird, but that's going to help the correct spelling stick in your brain. Okay. Last week we talked about some words that started with an uppercase letter. Those were proper nouns. I don't see any proper nouns in our list this week. Last week we started our discussion of Greek and Latin roots. We talked about that root hab, which means live, and we saw the word inhabit, which means you live in a certain place, or a habitat is a place where an animal lives. Today I have a new root that I want to teach you, and this one comes from Greek. So I want you to find, where is it? Oh, the DEC in decimal. That is actually a Greek root that means 10. So over here, orange box equals root. And in our language, like I said, most of our roots come from Latin or Greek. This one comes from Greek. It means 10. Think of a decade. A decade is how many years? 10 years, right? A decimal, if you think about how the decimal system works, each spot on the decimal system represents another jump by tens, right? So yeah, you're going to see more of that when you get to page 26. You're going to do a whole bunch of work with words like decade, decimal, decagon, that's a shape with 10 sides. December, I know December's our 12th month, but at some point it must have been our 10th month, which is why they called it December. A decathlon is a competition that has 10 events in it. So you're going to talk about that, and also you're going to learn about the Latin root cent, which means 100, like a centimeter or a century, which has 100 years. 100 cents make up $1. So you're going to learn about all of that later in the unit. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about in terms of word chunks. I want you to notice that this week we have some suffixes. Remember, a prefix is something that's added to the beginning of a word. We have a few of those here. But a suffix is added to the end of a word. And a suffix usually changes the part of speech. So for example, in the word business, we have this NESS suffix. We see that same suffix again in emptiness. Last week you saw it with the word happiness. What that suffix does is it changes an adjective to a noun. So empty is an adjective, right? Emptiness is a noun. Emptiness is the state of being empty. Business, if you look at that, that comes from the word busy, right? So business is the state of being busy. Happiness is the state of being happy. Notice in each of those words, the Y ending in busy, empty, and happy changes to an I when you add your suffix. So down here, pink oval equals suffix. I think that that's the only suffix I see this week, but we will keep our eyes peeled for more suffixes in future weeks. All right, so very quickly, let's make sure we know what all of our words mean. A benefit is something that's good for you. So let's just write something that is good. So for instance, you get a new job, it comes with benefits. Maybe you get paid overtime. Maybe if you work at a restaurant, one of the benefits is you get free meals. Maybe if you work at a daycare center, one of the benefits is you can bring your child there for free. So benefits are good things that you get. Business, we know if someone opens a business, they're making or selling stuff, but they're very busy. I guess that's why it's called a business. Continue, you keep going. A decimal, you know what a decimal point is, right? When you're adding numbers, sometimes you have to put a decimal point in there. To decorate something means to make it look nice. So you might decorate for the holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, you might decorate with a Christmas tree or some wreaths. To deliver is to bring something, right? So the mail carrier delivers mail right to your house. If something develops, it grows, okay? So a baby develops in its mom's belly. A problem can develop if it starts getting bigger and bigger. Different, I bet you know. Difficult, I bet you know. It's just a synonym for hard, right? Like, ooh, that was a difficult math problem. To educate someone is to teach them. So teachers spend their day educating, but you can educate your friends about any topic that you know about, that you want to teach them about. Emptiness we talked about. It's the state of being empty. There's nothing in there. An envelope, that would be something that you put a letter or a card in when you mail it. An episode, this could be like if you have a favorite TV show and you watch it, you know, maybe there's 30 episodes, but you love the episode where a character did something funny. So an episode, think of it as a chunk of time. So if you think about everything that happened on your TV series, one episode is just one little chunk of time. Every, I think you know, it means all. Exercise, I think you know, just be careful right here. This is where even a lot of grown-ups, they tend to spell this word wrong. So just notice that we have a soft C and an S. Interest has lots of different meanings. You can express interest. Let's say you want to start taking horseback riding lessons. You express that interest to your parents because you think it looks interesting. But interest also has to do with money. If you put your savings into a savings account, you're going to earn a little bit of interest. So the bank actually pays you for letting them hold on to your money. That's the good kind of interest. The bad kind of interest would be if you borrow money from the bank through your credit card and you don't pay it back on time, they're going to start charging you interest, which means you're going to have to pay extra money. That's the kind of interest you try to avoid if you can. The minimum is the least, right? So if you go to an amusement park, there are certain rides where they say, oh, you have to be a minimum of this tall. That's like the least amount of height you can have to ride this. The minimum age for getting your driver's license in this country is 16. The minimum age for drinking alcohol is 21. So that means the least, okay? When you prohibit something, you say no, you forbid it, right? So your parents might prohibit you from listening to certain music or playing certain games if they think it's too graphic. Kids are prohibited from going into certain buildings or bars or concerts. So if you prohibit someone, you say, nope, you can't come here. Remember, you know, and together, you know. All right, so I think you guys are ready to start this unit. Good luck, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.